AVATR's design team has smashed it out of the park yet again. Last year, the AVATR 1.1 was our favourite car of the year. And then, AVATR brought out this. This is inside China Auto, and this is the stunning AVATR 1.2. Yes, this is the AVATR 1.2, a car that I've been dying to review since the moment that it came out. Just take a look at that for 1 second. What a stunning creature this is. I absolutely love it. I love the proportions. This big long bonnet, chunky GT style rear. It's technically a saloon, but we'll get onto that once we get towards the back. Got this iconic daytime running light across here with the extra whisker at the top as well. It just looks absolutely wonderful. And AVATR have really treated me by giving me this wonderful green color, which actually they call slate blue, but I'm going to call it green. At the top of the bonnet here, we've got something called a halo screen, so you can project 2 images onto that. One that tells pedestrians they can cross the road, another one that tells people that you're temporarily parking in a space, which is quite useful in China. Down here, we've got active ventilation. We've also got a LiDAR unit down there, and we've got one over here as well on the side. So another one on the other side, that means 3 LiDAR units. They support the Huawei fully autonomous driving system in this car. It's pretty good. You can watch our video about it in the top corner, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it during the driving section of this video. 65-litre frunk in there, by the way, so plenty of space in there as well. Now, look at the cameras here. Camera there, camera here, and even this is a camera as well. No physical wing mirrors on this car. You actually get 2 little screens inside, and these cameras here project that image. We'll get onto that one, into the driving part. Got 21-inch alloys here with Brembo red brake calipers on there as well, and a stunning side profile along here. Got some hard creases going up and down at the bottom of the door there, one across the middle as well. We also get electronic door openings on the front and the rear as well, so you can get into the car with no problems whatsoever. It's NFC card activated, so you touch on here. Double glazing windows for extra sound insulation as well. And by the way, this windscreen comes all the way up to the top here, just above the driver there, to give you kind of a panoramic windscreen view above your head. A little bit of chrome at the bottom, all the weight comes back to here, and it's really, really stunning at the back. At the rear, you can see we've got a really powerful design. Looks very rear driven, this, doesn't it? All the power and the weight is at the back of the car. It kind of sits somewhere between a coupe and a shooting brake with that tapered roof line there. Got big chunky haunches. Notice all of our lines towards the back of the car do start to point upwards to give us this kind of chunky rear end here in the middle. You'll also notice that we don't have a rear window on this car. So much like the Polestar 4, no rear window. We'll talk about the visibility of that once we get inside. But that means that even though the bootleg goes all the way up here, this is technically a saloon, or we might call it a windowless GT, something like that. But elsewhere, we've got ourselves these kind of blade-like lamps there. They're very attractive. We've got an illuminated AVATR logo, big diffuser down at the bottom, and we've got active rear spoiler here on the back as well, because this kind of teardrop shape is a little bit susceptible to lift at high speeds. Audi TT learned that quite a long time ago. In here, we get 350 litres of space, so not the biggest in the world. It's usable. You do get 40-60 folding rear seats, although there's a bit of plastic there that does kind of block off some of that space a little bit. The downside of this boot is our pneumatic struts are here, so we've got a very chunky boot lid, and it means sometimes you think you've got stuff in there, but the boot lid won't quite go down all the way. So you have to get kind of a bit used to where the edges are of the space that you can use here on the boot lid. But apart from that, I mean, you buy this car for the looks, you don't necessarily buy it for the practicality. It is still useful space in there, and it looks absolutely amazing. As you can see, the interior of the 1.2 is every bit as modern and futuristic and just plain different as the outside of the car. What I really like is it feels very much like a cockpit, like it's all spreading out really far ahead of you. Works really well with this kind of small octagonal squeezed steering wheel here. Just as easy to use as a normal steering wheel, but I just love it. It kind of feels kind of small and compact, feels quite direct while you're driving. Very similar to that on the Hyper GT actually. I did like that steering wheel as well. But that screen across there at the back of the dashboard, that is a 35.4-inch 4K screen. This little part here is for your normal driving functions in front of you. This stuff is like your tyre pressures, energy usage, your clock, mileage, pictures, and you've also got your music on there as well. I haven't yet worked out how to change anything on that screen, whether you can actually move things from this screen onto there or not. So I'm not sure it's got any real function. It's not touchscreen, so you can't really play with it like that. I think it partially serves as a bit of a heads-up display, because we don't really have a heads-up display here. So it kind of, because it's high up at the back of the dashboard, maybe it works as a heads-up display. Either side of that, you've got two other digital screens. They are your wing mirrors. So instead of your wing mirrors over here, you've got cameras and they project the image onto there. Got to admit, that does take some getting used to. You naturally just look to the mirror, then you've got to correct and work out where your mirrors are. About 2 days later, I'm finally starting to get used to it. So you will get there, but it is a little bit quirky and interesting to use the first time. We've also got our digital rear view mirror here as well. And at this point, you realize you don't have a rear window on the car. You also realize that you don't really need a rear window because you don't generally look out of it that much. This camera seems somehow like the depth perception is a bit better. Some other cameras you find you have to adjust your focus a little bit more. This one seems a bit better for some reason, or maybe I've just got used to it because of some of the cars that we've driven on this channel. But yeah, there you go, another screen on there. And then of course you've got your 15.6-inch screen in the middle here. This runs the Huawei Harmony OS system, so it's a nice slick system. You can flick through the backgrounds on there, which looks really quite attractive. You've got your ventilation controls at the bottom. You've got 360-degree camera in there. You've got the controls for the halo lights, so you can tell pedestrians or people that you're parking, for example, change your driving modes. Big advantage of the Huawei system, it works in English and in Chinese. So if your Chinese isn't up to scratch, this system will do it for you. As I mentioned, 360-degree camera. You can activate that via the button on the screen there. These are adjustable tiles, by the way, that you can adjust as you want. Or you can press this physical button here under the screen for your 360-degree camera, and you can basically pick all those cameras around the car. Or you can just go to 3D, and you've got transparent chassis there as well that you can use. You can also do your automatic parking in there, or via this button here. So the car will park itself. I'll show you that later. Next to that, we've also got our window switches. So instead of 4 switches on the door here, they're all in the middle of the car there. Again, that does take some getting used to because you naturally go to the left side, then you find they're in the middle. Very much like on the Volvo EX30. Instead of the switches on the door, what we get instead, and instead of a door pocket, is this kind of hatch lid here. So you got your ambient lighting on there, and you've got a deep pocket in there that you can put things in, which is a really kind of innovative, interesting solution I've never seen on a car before, to replace that kind of difficult to access door pocket down there. I mean, obviously you can't really put drinks in there. You have to keep lifting the handle up every time you do it, but it's interesting. I like it. We've also got in here a capacitive switch for locking the car, for opening the windows, and we've got our electric door switch here. So if I press that one there, the steering wheel goes back, my seat goes into the kind of welcome stance, and the door opens. Press the brake pedal, and everything comes back to normal again. I really like this door, by the way. You'll notice we've got this kind of ribbed rubber pattern in the door there that works really nicely with the ambient lighting around here. Very similar to that on the Neo ET5. It looks like a show curtain being lit up at night. Very attractive. Feels quite high quality as well. The downside is this is the only part of the car that really feels a little bit flexible. So some parts on the AVATR 1.1 were a little bit more flexible. This car is much better screwed together than that one. That's the only bit I've found that's really a bit flexible on this car. But anyway, on this door we've also got our speakers. We've got a lot of speakers in this car. You get 14 as standard on the base version, 27 on all of the versions. So down there at the bottom of the door, here at the door, top of the dashboard, up above your head, more up here, big bass unit in the back. So the speakers all over the place. Big 27 speaker sound system, probably Huawei speakers, though they don't actually say Huawei on them. They've just got AVATR logos on there. What else have we got? Our driving position. Not the best driving position in the world. I do feel like I'm slightly high up and I can't really get lower than this. So I feel like I'm looking down a little bit on these screens. You do get quite a lot of tilt angle adjustment, and obviously you can just see forwards and backwards, 6-way adjustment. You can adjust your headrest up and down as well. You can also make a leg rest come out. So you notice here at the front of this seat and this seat, I've even got a little leg rest that comes out. We've got our panoramic roof that goes way above our head here, so just behind our sun visor there. That lets a lot of light in, which is really quite attractive. Here in the middle, you've got a pair of 50-watt wireless chargers. Interesting part here, you'll see that the wireless chargers pop up there, and once you put the phone back on, the little tray slides down again, and the ventilation is just here, so it keeps your phone nice and cool. Twin 50-watt wireless chargers, so that's good. Keeps you charges your phone nice and quick. Bit of ventilation down there. A pair of cup holders in here. Bit of space in there as well. Also more space under the dashboard with USB-C and USB-A sockets, and we get a glove box on here as well. Overall, very premium materials. Nappa leather on the seats. I think you get Nappa leather and suede, I think, on the base version. We get suede roof lining, which is quite lovely as well. Only downside is we've got the black interior, which looks a bit more miserable than the white and purple interior that you can get. Looks a lot more bright and classy than this one. We also, by the way, get heating, ventilation and massage on these front seats. I believe that's standard in all versions except the base version, which maybe don't get the massage and the ventilation. Now, before we get into the back, there's one other thing that I discovered after recording the first part of this review. A button on the side of the seat that's actually the different colour from the rest. And I didn't know what it did. Now I do. Bear with me. That's right. We've got a zero gravity seat. Not only this one, but the passenger seat as well. It's a one-touch button. You can lie back and relax. And when you're waiting for people, which in China, a lot of the time you are waiting for people, usually your family, having something like this is actually quite comfortable in your car. So basically what it does, it lifts the seat up, tilts the base cushion, lies the backrest down, lowers the headrest, and the leg rest also comes up to give you some support there. And then about 15 seconds later, it feels like, it returns you back to your normal position. So that's quite cool. On the top 3 editions of this car, that is a standard feature. Nice. Space in the back of the 1.2, bit of a mixed bag, to be honest with you. The first thing you feel is that your bum is nice and low, so you feel quite cosseted by these seats. You get a decent amount of thigh support under there. So plenty of headroom, plenty of knee room, not a lot of foot room. That seat's as low as it'll go. The floor also slopes up slightly, so it's literally just toe room down there. So you're going to want to kind of maybe ask that guy to lift his seat up a little bit to get more space for your feet. But you do get heating on the 2 outer seats here. Of course, Nappa leather, of course, in the back here as well. These seats do fold down 40/60. The strap is up here behind the headrest if you want to fold that down. Quite difficult to find, to be honest with you. You get ambient lighting here behind your head and more speakers. That goes all the way around into the doors as well. You get your window switches here and another electric door release switch there on the back. You also got the same pockets in the door that flip up here. So again, they've gone for the same style in the back as in the front there as well. Pockets on the back of the seats there, deep pocket there with a USB-C socket in it. You also get an armrest here in the middle with a pair of cup holders in there. Also a pair of phone holders, but they're not wireless chargers, sadly. Bit of extra space there as well. You can also fold this headrest out if you want to have a 5th person in the middle, but the seat is a bit high in the middle, so you're not really going to want to sit on that one. Also, by the way, we get ourselves Isofix seat mountings down here, which means that it's time to find out how easy it is to get a baby seat in the back of an AVATR 1.2. Okay, so we've got our trusty baby seat down here. First thing we need to do is flip open this Velcro pad here and try and tuck it into the seat a little bit because it will get into the way. And then, got quite a small entrance. Let's just pull out the ends on that. And now we'll slide it in there. Try and guide it into the holes. I don't think we're attached. There we go. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Not the easiest in the world, but we managed to get there in the end. It took us a bit longer than it did in the Xiaomi, but can still rotate it, so plenty of space, even with the front seat pretty far back from the welcome stance there. Not too bad, but I think maybe taking that Velcro out of the way might make things a little bit easier. Now, if the looks of the 1.2 scream GT, the performance very much delivers exactly what you'd expect from a GT. It's not the fastest car in the world. I don't think they're aiming for that audience. It's not quite as brutally quick as a dual motor or even a single motor Xiaomi SU7, for example. This very much feels like a kind of a big, comfortable car for people who, I don't know, who want to feel kind of quite grand and feel luxurious. And it delivers on the luxury really nicely. In our car, which is the single motor version, we don't get air suspension or continuous damping control. So when you bring it out to the really choppy roads, like this concrete road that I'm on now, which is where I like to really test out the suspension systems of these cars, it does feel a little bit fussy, just bobbles around a little bit, but there's no clunking, there's no crashing. It rides quite nicely on the whole, just kind of, you know, just bobbles over the big bumps quite a lot. But we've not had any really bad suspension crashes on any of the choppy roads so far, which is good. But performance is quite a bit different between the two versions, the rear-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive versions. The rear-wheel drive version that we have, as I mentioned, we don't have continuous damping control, we don't have air suspension. Our car has a 230 kilowatt, 370 Newton meter of torque motor on the rear axle, and that is good for a 0 to 100 kilometer per hour time of 6.9 seconds, which is fairly leisurely for a single motor car. But again, they're not going for kind of that brutally quick audience based on what I can see. So I'm just trying to navigate a car here that doesn't really know what he's doing. On the all-wheel drive versions, you will get an additional 195 kilowatt, 280 Newton meter of torque motor on the front, so 425 kilowatts in total, and something like 680 Newton meters of torque, which is quite a bit down on the Xiaomi SU7, which is why I would tell you this is a GT car rather than a sports car like the SU7 is aiming to be. It will do 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 3.9 seconds. Again, fairly leisurely, slower even than a Volvo EX30 or a Zeekr X, for example. So it's not as quick as either of those cars. The overall driving experience, though, does feel quite lovely. The cabin itself already feels like kind of an occasion while you're driving. The steering, you've got 3 settings in there: comfort, eco, and sport. You've got also a custom option where you can adjust your steering feel, your energy recovery, your what else can you get in there? Your braking sensitivity, your acceleration, those kind of things. And yeah, I've been driving around on comfort most of the time, which is nice. Sport, obviously a little bit quicker, but it's not a shouty car. It doesn't feel like really punchy, aggressive acceleration, anything like that. I need to turn my wipers on because I can't see anything here. I'd just say it's really quite pleasant. I mean, you get used to the driving position. The mirrors definitely take some getting used to, as I said. Certainly the wing mirrors, this one is fine. The difficulty with the wing mirrors, I would say, compared to a traditional glass mirror, is that it's quite hard to tell how far alongside a car next to you is. So you can see them in the mirror, but you can't really work out whether they're overlapping with the back of your car or not. And certainly in visibility, if you look over your shoulder, it is a little bit harder without having that rear window, with having that kind of chunky bulkhead around the back. But you kind of get used to it. I think it would be nice to have a little kind of yellow line maybe, just to show roughly where the back of your car is based on the mirror angle. But the mirrors do fold down, so you can see the curbs and stuff when you're reversing a little bit easier as well. And they've got a self-cleaning function in there as well as the rain starts to fall. But yeah, it's a really pleasant car to get around in. Very nice and quiet inside. The ride is good. Steering is quite feelsome, actually. Certainly not as soft as most Chinese cars. I have got it on sports steering, so it's a bit tighter and a bit heavier, but it's nice. With this steering wheel, it's really quite pleasant to drive. It does feel very futuristic and enjoyable to drive. Now, in terms of batteries, the battery is the same for all cars, a 94.5 kilowatt ternary lithium battery, which will charge from 0 to 80% in half an hour, 30 to 80% in 20 minutes, and at 240 kilowatts fast charging. The range is getting really quite aggressive now. It will do 700 kilometers of range on CLTC in the single motor version of this car, and 650 kilometers of range on the dual motor version. In reality, I'll show you some screenshots of after I charged it and where I was not long before I started this section. I've been getting about just over 71% of the stated figure on the CLTC. So not exactly the greatest, but I will caveat that with there's been a lot of static time with the aircon on today, filming the interior and stuff like that. And also I was driving around in comfort mode most of the time, so not the eco mode. Been up hills, been in traffic jams, been in the city, been all over. So we've really tried it in different locations. That's kind of the average of what's coming out, 71%. So if you take out the static air conditioned energy usage, which does take a lot of energy, I would say it's probably about in line with what you would expect from CLTC. But yeah, super pleasant car to drive. In terms of prices, the base version of this, which is a single motor rear wheel drive version, costs 260,800 RMB, I believe. The most expensive version, dual motor performance version with all the gubbins included, that will cost you 400,800 RMB, which is quite expensive. That's right up there in kind of Neo territory, Neo and Li Auto territory. And I do think this is a much more premium car, for example, than a Xiaomi SU7. It's about 2 centimeters longer than an SU7, about 4 centimeters shorter than a 5 Series. So it does kind of sit there in that GT category, somewhere in the middle of the two. As I said, it's fairly expensive, but it feels luxurious. The materials feel good, the sound quality is good, the ride overall is lovely. I mean, I'd pay that money just for the design, to be totally honest with you. I love the way this car looks. I really enjoy the way it drives. It's a no-stress car, which is exactly what a GT should be if you're used to driving GTs. Now, in terms of the autonomous drive system, I don't want to say too much because I do have another video for that in the top corner over there, where you can see how it dealt with many different kinds of streets in Kunming. What I will say is very impressive. I think it's a better system than Xiaopeng. It's got a wider breadth of usage than Xiaopeng. It dealt with some really difficult situations admirably, actually. A couple little quirks to it, a little tiny bit of bouncing around between lanes. Every now and then it will just kind of brake and very rarely, but occasionally it'll brake when it thinks it's seen something. But I was massively impressed by it. I was sat here smiling because you would see a situation and think, oh, how's it going to handle this? And then it went and did it. So it's a really good system. Check out that video and you'll get to see it, exactly how well it did. I think it's currently the best system in China. That's the takeaway. But you can go and see why in the other video. So yeah, overall, I think it's every bit a GT car. It's quite lovely to drive, quite pleasant. I'd like to see it. I'd like to try it with the dual motor, air suspension, continuous damping control, just to see how it handles that choppy road back there. But overall, I'm very happy with it. Yeah, it's a lovely car to drive, and just a little bit different from everything else out there on the road. Oh, it also does automatic parking. So let's go and show you that. Okay, so we're now going to test out the autonomous parking function of the Huawei system, and I'm going to pick the hardest kind of space that there is, which is a dead end space, and it's going to reverse park into this. So up ahead of us, you can see on the left side there's a dead end space over there. I shall press the autonomous parking button here, drive forwards, and it will identify this space. I want that one there. Let's see how it does this. It's got to plan the route now. Now we've got one car behind us, as you can see here. Empty spaces there. Ha! It can't do it. Okay, it doesn't know how to go in backwards. It could go in forwards. Press the brake before starting. Okay. Your front bumper may make contact with the wheel stop if you park front first. Okay, so we don't really want to park front first. I want to show you how it can park normally. So let's just, obviously that one it struggled with a little bit. Not necessarily happy with that one. Let's try and let's go for the space next to it, okay? Because that's going to be a little bit easier, okay? Let's go for that one there.
Stop first to park.
There we go, planning the route. So it's trying to work out how to do it, which is difficult because there's a wall there and a wall there, so it can't even. Here we go.
Parking has started. Stay alert.
So this is going to be complicated. I'm a little bit scared about this, to be honest with you. Oh, the wall's
Stay
there.
alert. Avoid contact.
Okay, so I think if there were cars in these spaces, it wouldn't know how to do this. This is going to be like a 20-point turn, which is going to be very interesting. Oh man, I'm so hate when cars do it by themselves, trying to get close to the wall. See, it's not going to do it now. It's not going to fit in there. Stop, 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 stop. Okay, good. So this is a hard space because of those two solid walls there. And yeah, we need another little turn there, because if you look at this mirror over here, we're a little bit too close to that pillar. But you'll see it has achieved it. There you go. Nicely into the space, equal on both sides. Good job. So that's it for our review of the AVATR 1.2. Is it every bit as good as I hoped it would be? Resoundingly, yes it is. What a stunning car this is. I absolutely love how it looks. It's like a concept car for the road. I would not be unhappy having this on my driveway. It's got a great interior as well, very modern, futuristic, very luxurious, a little bit quirky as well, if that's what you like. But it does the GT thing really, really well. It's not overly rapid, not overly sporty, so it's a big car for munching the miles and relaxing while you do it. And with that great autonomous drive system, you can really sit back. It'll do a lot of that driving for you really, really well. Is this car still number one on my list of the cars that I would have in China? Absolutely. It's done everything that I hoped it would and more. Thank you very much for watching. If you do, thank you for subscribing. And if you like the video, give it a thumbs up so more people can see the great cars coming out of China. And as ever, we'll catch you next time.